Hi, this is Katie Sweetman, and this is your live look at the astrology for Empowering Astrology, and this is July 26th through August 1st, 2021. If you are watching live, do say hello. I started to accidentally broadcast this from my personal Facebook, so all my high school friends and my former work colleagues can see my living room. But if you're joining me live, do say hello. Let me know where you're watching from, because like I say, I'd like to sort of know where people are watching. I always see some familiar faces every week. What I was starting to say when I realized, wait a second, hang on, I think I'm sending this to my personal Facebook and not to my business page, was that I'm running a little bit late today because I was doing a little bit of puppy wrangling. Those who were watching last week's or even the week before, I had Miguel kept going for his squeaky toys because he seemed to know that I was trying to do some audio and visual recording. So I made sure that I put away all the squeaky toys. He's free range puppy. He's not crated, but he does have like one of those toys that are stuffed with treats. So he is focused on getting all the treats out of the toys. But we are focused this week on the astrology. Like I said, it's July 26th through August 1st, 2021. This week we are seeing some planets change signs. We've got 3 planets actually changing signs. So when you see a bunch of planets changing signs in one week, it's pretty safe to say that things are changing. The narrative is changing, and sort of the big story this week is that Jupiter is going back to Aquarius. So we had a little bit of preview for a few months. While Jupiter was in Pisces, we sort of have to take the rose color glasses and start to look at things a little bit more objectively, a little bit more realistically. With Jupiter and Aquarius, yes, Miguel has his Kong. It's filled with little puppy treats. Like I said, hopefully will stay right there. But anyway, yeah, last week we had an Aquarius full moon on Friday. I sort of create a little bit of continuity between this week and last week, and what happened for you, what was highlighted for you. I sort of noticed that things kind of get a little weird around the full moon. People make decisions, tensions get highlighted. It's just something that you start to notice more when you realize, oh, it's a full moon. People are sort of amped up. But we start this week off with a Pisces moon. Maybe this is why I'm like in the wrong live broadcast. I'm like trying to get my puppy in order. There's like a last minute wardrobe change, but we're here. We start the week off with a Pisces moon, and it's a reminder that Jupiter is coming to its temporary end in Pisces this week. Jupiter has been in Pisces since May 13th, and Jupiter is actually right at home in Pisces. And when Jupiter is in its own sign, there is sort of this extra emphasis on all things about faith and truth and meaning and convictions and belief. Jupiter as a planet it's a planet that helps us to understand the world outside of ourselves. It inspires us to travel. It inspires us to go to college or university, to understand our life beyond the 4 walls in which we grew up in. So there's a worldliness to Jupiter, but it's not just the physical world. And this is where we see Jupiter in Pisces. It talks about the world that we can't see, because Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac, and it's sort of putting the spotlight on the other side, meaning what do we feel when we sort of search ourselves, we start to connect with our intuition, we start to sense that there's something more to this life, something that we can't see, something that maybe we can't fully understand, and we're trying to make sense of things. So Pisces is a sign that really invites us to do the inner work, to search, to explore, to meditate, to reflect. It's a very spiritual sign, but it's also a sign of illusions, and where we sort of get lost in ourselves, lost in substance, lost in situations that are not based in reality. So, I'm not picking on Pisces. It's just every sign of the zodiac has 2 sides to it. So maybe over the past couple of months, we really got deep into something that maybe isn't real, or maybe we were sort of asking ourselves, the existential questions. What does it all mean? Why am I, why am I doing this? What does my life mean? Especially after we've had this very extraordinary year. To be fair, it's still going. And I know that a lot of people have made some big changes in the last year based on the inner work that we've sort of been forced to do now that we've had, we had some time on our hands. So if Jupiter in Pisces is very driven by matters of faith and intuition and spirituality, when it goes back into Aquarius, we're going to start to see things from a different lens. Not to kind of jump ahead of myself, because that's on Wednesday. Jupiter goes back into Aquarius on Wednesday. But yes, we start the week off with Moon in Pisces, and then on Tuesday, July 27th, Mercury goes into Leo. So maybe you remember that Mercury not too long ago, about 2 weeks ago, went into Cancer. So Mercury moved very quickly through Cancer, a sign where we are sort of more sentimental, sort of talking about the past, talking about our feelings, not really able to get very objective, because Cancer is a water sign. It's sort of steeped in emotions and feelings. But when it goes into Leo, Leo is a very different sign than Cancer. It's the sign of the sun, of passion, of creativity. Of course, Miguel is like scratching at his grate. I'm just gonna put him in another room next time. He's probably just gonna bark anyway. But yeah, puppy, found him with the 4-month-old puppy. But what I was saying is that Mercury in Leo is about passions. It's about creativity. So how we use our voice has to connect to our passion. It has to connect to that spark that lives within us. And this is something that I think I spoke to a little bit more deeply last week, about how I love reframing Leo. Because there's this we inherited this text about Leo, about how it's divas and about how you have to shine, and it's sort of this very surface look at Leo. And I'm not saying that we can't shine with Leo. You can't be extra. Leo. I have Jupiter in Leo. I love being extra, although maybe just a little bit quietly. But Leo is the sign where it connects us to the spark of the Creator, the spark of the divine that lives within us. And this is why when we have lost that spark, we feel flat, we feel depressed, we can't see, we get burnt out. So that's the negative side of Leo, is when we have that energy blocked. So now that Mercury is there, maybe we're able to connect to it a little bit more. We're in Leo season now. We have to get back to the things that nourish that spark, that light us up, that give us life. Leo is the sign of the sun. The sun gives us life. If there's no sun, I'm very, very sorry. We're not going to have any life on this planet. So Leo helps us to understand a very basic premise, is that we need light. It's the thing that gives life to all this planet. So Mercury helps us to sort of be able to communicate from our heart, from the things that really stir our passions and get us really fired up, but also creative writing, singing, if that's something that is in your wheelhouse. Here's the thing, and we're going to start to see a little bit of a shift in the narrative this week, not just because the planets are changing signs, but now that Mercury is in Leo, it's joining the sun in Leo. It's sort of activating these other planets we have going on this year, with something called Saturn square Uranus. Now, if you've been watching this show throughout this year, I'm going to say it again, it's as if in 2020 we have one foot in this life and we have one foot in another life. So we're going to feel that push and pull at different intervals throughout this year. And we're going to feel it now that Mercury is in Leo. It's sort of pushing up against Saturn. It's pushing up against Uranus. This is what's called a T-square in astrology. And a T-square is exactly as it sounds. You've got two planets in an opposition. That's Miguel chewing at his crate. His crate that he wasn't in. This is two squares, or two planets in an opposition. And then you have a planet at the top, which is called the apex, the T-square. And this planet, in this case, is Uranus. So what this is saying to us is that in order to sort of rectify the tensions between Leo and Aquarius. Leo is about the individual, it's about the spark, it's about creativity. But then you have Saturn, good old-fashioned Saturn, saying, well, it has to be balanced, it has to be equitable, it has to be structured. But it also the sense of like the personal versus the collective, the self versus the we. And then at the apex of it is Uranus saying, whatever it is, it has to be absolutely authentic. I think to some degree, all of us this year, we're having a crisis of authenticity, a crisis of individuality, maybe even a crisis of faith. So something about this week and even next week and really August, because August has got some stressful astrology, is that we have to sort of break out of the patterns or the situations that are confining us. So like I said, Mercury, it activates that Saturn-Uranus square. The next day, Jupiter returns to Aquarius. So Jupiter will not get as far back as, I think it gets back to I should have this information in my brain. Very sorry. I forget how far back Jupiter goes in Aquarius. But nevertheless, I don't think it goes back as far as Saturn and Uranus. But I think the thing that we need to think about is the fact that Jupiter is now going to be in the same room as Saturn. It's going to be talking, so to speak, with Uranus. And I think Jupiter, because it's big, is going to give life to this kind of push and pull we have this year. So in English, whatever has been simmering below the surface, whatever you've been thinking about and circling on and sort of trying to take that next step in your life into this new life that you've got one foot in, I think we're all going to really see the story get bigger. Hopefully bigger on a better level, but it's something as an astrologer to do my due diligence and talk about, because simply Jupiter makes things bigger and sometimes it can make a problem bigger. So really be aware of whatever this story is that's been going on throughout this year, where you've got one foot in a new life and one foot in an old life. And so maybe you haven't quite figured out how to resolve these two halves. And so here comes Jupiter and it's making it bigger. Or maybe you know exactly what to do and Jupiter gives you the push, gives you inspiration, it gives you the vision. Maybe Jupiter in Aquarius is sort of the clarity and the focus that you need after sort of the exuberance of Jupiter in Pisces. I think we all think everything's going to work out when Jupiter is in Pisces, and maybe it does. I think Pisces is the sign of miracles, it's the sign of divine intervention and unexpected help. But there is a sense of like now Jupiter going back to Aquarius on July 28th. We have to sort of get back to reality. Speaking of which, Mars goes into Virgo on July 29th. So later this week, we have another planet change signs. Mars leaves Leo, where it was for 6 weeks, and now it's going to go into Virgo. So Mars in Virgo is like the craft and the practice. We're moving out of we're still going to be in the Leo energy, but now we're going to start to see some Virgo energy come in. Leo is that spark, it's that creativity, but if you've ever been around people that just have a lot of ideas, but they don't make the ideas happen, well, that's where Virgo comes in, especially Mars and Virgo. We have to put these visions, these ideas, these sort of creativity, the creative ideas that we've been having into reality. So Virgo is the craft, it's the responsibility, it's the diligence, it's the perfection. It's sort of this earth sign that makes the fire of Leo real. I always tell people fire in astrology comes before earth. The element fire, the fire signs come before the earth signs. So without the fire, meaning without the passion, the creativity, the motivation, we just run straight into earth. So it's like we can't do Virgo without Leo. Just a little fun aside. So this dynamic that we have going on in the sky is like, yeah, we have Leo, we have the joy, we have the passion, hopefully, unless it's blocked, and then we sort of take the energy of Virgo and make it real. as we go later into this week, it's a time to really focus on the practical details of life, getting organized, cleaning up, cleaning out. I know that it's a little bit of an unglamorous reputation for Virgo, but it's my belief that Virgo makes the world go round. And if you don't like Virgo, because sometimes I hear this, you have Virgo somewhere in your chart. You have that energy inside of you. So yes, we all have to get practiced. We have to sort of seek to be a better version of ourselves. We have to get organized. We need work. Virgo is also the sign of health and wellness. So Mars in Virgo can be a little bit of a workaholic, just a little FYI. Maybe we're just going to be really working hard as we go into August. And also it's very focused on health and wellness. So if you need to make any sort of practical changes in your health, how you take care of your body, your daily wellness, this is a time to really take action and put that into focus. I mean, like I said, there's so much happening this year in terms of trying to get us out of old patterns and out of old ruts, that we have these opportunities to make lasting positive changes. Speaking of lasting positive changes, as we go into this weekend, Mercury, which, as you know, will be in Leo, it's going to start to come up to an opposition to Saturn. So a very classic way of looking at this is that Saturn says no to Mercury. That's what Saturn does. Saturn doesn't say no for the sake of saying no. It says no to the things that aren't working. So if you're making choices or decisions that just don't work in the long run, Saturn, we have our Saturn checkpoint. Saturn says no. It's not going to work. But here's the thing I love about Saturn. Sometimes it says yes. It says yes to the right things. It says yes to the things that we're ready to make a commitment with. We're ready to go be serious and go long term with something. And I think that there's a bit of a stress test with things as we go into this weekend, because ultimately Saturn wants balance, equity, and fairness. So if something's imbalanced, how does it come into balance? Something's unfair, how does it become fair? And sometimes when things are in Virgo, we're sort of tipping more towards, we're deferring more towards other people. But ultimately Saturn says that you can't sacrifice yourself. It has to be fair. It has to be equitable. So maybe you have a serious decision to make this weekend, or maybe you're sort of hitting a wall on something. If you do hit a wall, just examine what that wall is trying to tell you. Is it a hard stop, a hard no, or does something need to be recalibrated to sort of meet Saturn's demands? Now, we have to understand this in the greater context, meaning that Saturn square Uranus this year says that whatever we do choose, it has to, Mercury is in Leo. Whatever we choose, it has to feed us. It has to give us joy, and it has to give us passion. I know joy and passion often seem like a luxury, but they are essential to life. See? Miguel agrees. Joy and passion are essential to life. So we can't look at these things as luxuries. They sort of keep us breathing. They keep our spiritual lights on. So maybe that's what we're trying to rectify against Saturn this weekend. Yeah, you win some, you lose some, right, Miguel? So much for taking the squeaky toys away. Anyway, so yeah, hard energy as we go into this weekend. Mercury will make that square to Uranus next week. So we do have some bumpy energy as we go into the beginning of next week. And I think that's something important to understand for August astrology, because I know August 1st is Sunday, at least here in the US, it'll be different for those watching in Australia. But, as we go into August, we're going to start to see there's going to be like a Leo new moon. I believe it's on August 8th. We're going to have another full moon in Aquarius on, I think it's the 19th. Uranus is going to turn retrograde in August. So a lot of these, like I said, 2021 is about, let's say, we'll go back. 2020 is the year that astrologically was a hard stop for everybody. And I know if you look at your life, you're like, no duh, Katie. 2020 started to show you the cracks in something. Your life, your job, your marriage, your sort of worldview, your beliefs about yourself, your self-worth. And then 2021, the cracks are getting bigger. Because something wants to move. It wants to take new form. It wants to be in a shape that's authentic to what it truly is. So it's, for example, if you've been forcing yourself in a career or a direction or a mindset that is counter to who you really are, here are the cracks. So we're going to have very key moments throughout 2021 where we feel the push and the pull against these cracks. And I think that that's August. August is a month where that sort of dynamic energy, that story is really coming to a head. So let's talk about what this astrology means for each of the signs. Just a little friendly reminder, if you're watching on the replay or even if you're watching live, you can get the timestamps in the description if you want to skip ahead to your sign. And just some housekeeping. You can listen for both your sun sign and also your rising sign. I know some of you like to listen for your moon sign, you like to listen for your partner sign, you like to listen for your child sign. So you can listen for all the signs and you might hear something that is relevant to you. But the idea is that, let's say all Virgos have a common time and a common experience that you're going to live it in your own way, because it's what, I'll say it over and over again, the astrology is 50%, you're the other 50%. So yes, if you are Virgo, if you are Leo, etc., you share something with everybody of all that sign. You just live it in your own way. Okay, side note. Aries. So we just had a full moon, Aries. That full moon put the spotlight on friends and community, but it also sort of showed you the bigger picture. It's like, where do you want to take your life? What are your hopes and your dreams and your ambitions going forward? The changes this week for you, your Jupiter returns back to Aquarius. Now, Jupiter has been in the part of your chart that talks about spirituality and faith. So you sort of got this little preview, Aries, of a sort of a deeper meditation that you're going to be entering in as you go into the new year. What does this all mean? What do you believe in? What's the role of your spirituality or your spiritual life in your life, Aries? So Jupiter is going back into Aquarius, and here's the thing about Jupiter also being in the same sign as Saturn. So Saturn has been in Aquarius since the end of 2020, and Saturn's a little brutal in the sign of friendship and community, meaning it's looking through your contacts and it's just deleting people. Because Saturn has been saying to you since the start of the year, like, these people are your friends, these people are not your friends. So Jupiter going back there, sort of this revisiting of who are your friends, who are your community, and sort of the greater changes that you need to make, Aries, about value and self-worth. Like, the people in your life, they have to value you. You have to value yourself. So maybe you've been sort of setting up some hard boundaries between certain people in your life or even certain people in your community. Changing topics slightly, Mars going into Virgo for you. You've sort of been very focused, Leo season, on what it means to be you, that sort of self-expression and creativity. But Mars going to Virgo says there's a lot about work going into the next 5-6 weeks. So yeah, like August is going to be busy, Aries. You've got stuff to do, you've got things to organize, you've got projects to focus on, and it's time to focus on your health, Aries. So that's an area that's been neglected. Mars can bring something to a head, not to make anybody nervous about health or wellness, but I always say get ahead of the planets. If you know that you need to take better care of yourself, then how do you use Mars's energy to actually put it in practice? How do you use Mars's energy to, like, go for a run or get back to the gym or make some healthy initiatives in your life? But, if you need to make that doctor's appointment or get your teeth cleaned, like, do it. Like, Mars is in that sign that's really, pushing you to do that. So yeah, that's you, Aries. And I just think that for you, this greater push and pull that's happening is really about you, yourself, your individuality, what makes you, your talents, and where does that fit in terms of the greater whole, and how do you value yourself and value your talents and sort of rectify that need to want to share yourself, Aries, but sort of the material, the internal material that comes up in the meantime. Taurus. So here we are, we're just off of a full moon in Aquarius. For you, Aquarius is your career sign, so maybe you had to make some decisions in your professional life. If it's not your professional life, then it's this idea of direction. Because yes, this part of the chart is about your professional life, but that means different things to different people. So even if you're retired, this part of your chart, it demands direction, it demands responsibility. And so you're coming off of that time, but meanwhile, here comes Jupiter back to your career sign, back to the sign that talks about your place in the world. Jupiter in general opens doors. So maybe, that short window that we had Jupiter in Aquarius over the first 5 months of the year, 5-6 months, you saw some changes in your professional life. Maybe you got a job opportunity, maybe things were working out. So Jupiter's coming back and, you're going to have that boost again. But let's not forget, Taurus, I know I say this all the time, you have Uranus and Taurus. You're going to have Uranus and Taurus over the next few years. So whatever changes, whatever opportunities that are coming up in your professional life, they need to sort of support the personal changes that you're making, because that's sort of the dynamic tension that's happening this year. It's like you are changing. Well, because you are changing, your professional life needs to change, your direction, your sense of status in the world, maybe the things that you valued before are not what you valued now. So it's been a bit of a personal reinvention and a personal revolution over the past few years. Mars is going into your 5th sign. So yeah, how do you take yourself seriously, really take action and express your talents and your creativity? How do you be you, Taurus? So as you sort of put a lot of focus on your professional life or direction or the status that you have in the world, don't forget to really express who you are. So do fun things, whatever fun means to you. Taurus, you are an earth sign, so maybe it's a little bit more practical and sensual. Leo season is pushing and pulling at this, your home versus the world, and maybe the move that you made recently, or maybe the changes that you made in your home. And this is something that as you go into, let's say, the new moon in Leo next, in a couple of weeks from now, you're going to start seeing that need to sort of replant yourself someplace different, or sort of change your direction in life. But it's a big time for you, Taurus, and I think August is really going to bring a lot of these stories forward. Where are we at? Gemini. So this full moon highlighted a lot of the work that you've been doing over the past year, which is trying to answer these sort of existential questions, like, what do I believe in? What's my faith? What's my truth? What's my convictions? So this full moon really puts something in the spotlight. Maybe, full moons can be confrontational. Saturn can be a little, not brutal, maybe there's a better word, but sharp. Saturn is trying to get you very sharply focused on what you believe in, what your sense of faith and right and wrong and convictions are. That said, we've got Mars is going into Virgo. So for you, Gemini, Virgo forms the base and the bottom of your chart. Wherever Mars is, things heat up. So your home environment is heating up, Gemini. Maybe it gets very busy in your home. People are moving in, people are moving out. Maybe you are moving. Maybe you need to make some changes in your home after the last year that we had. But the home environment is probably going to be a little bit noisy for the next 5-6 weeks, Gemini. And I will add that because Mars is activating the eclipse degrees as we go into August, things are probably going to start to get a little interesting, Gemini, because you had an eclipse in your sign back on June 10th. And eclipses, sometimes they will come about around the full, the new moon or the full moon if it's a lunar eclipse. Or sometimes they wait and then they get a trigger. And Mars is certainly a trigger in astrology. So really start to see where things are shifting and changing with your relationships, with you, the directions that your life is taking. But for you, this is really pulling on some existential questions. You do have Uranus in your 12th sign, you have Saturn in your 9th sign. So it's like you have to meditate. It's like if you believe in something, why do you believe in it? You have to feel, where is this coming from? You have to kind of get to the source of your truth. So that's where a lot of the dynamic is happening right now, Gemini. I don't know, throat chakra. Yeah, throat chakra, Gemini. Maybe that's where you're at. Cancer. So we just had this full moon that highlighted a lot of the deep work that you've been doing over the past 6-7 months, which is really taking your emotional health seriously. You are in this time, Cancer rising, that I call the 8th room. It's the time where you have to face yourself. You have to do the work. You have to search deep within. And if there's all this emotional material that you have not dealt with, Saturn is sort of really pressing you to do the deeper work. You don't have to, but something that I recommend, and I recommend from personal experience, that when you are in the 8th room, don't do it alone. This is where having a therapist, having a support system, having an outside pair of eyes, somebody that can see things differently than, say, a best friend or a partner, you need that support right now, Cancer. So you have that sort of push happening deep in your emotional self. And then you have Uranus over in the part of your chart that talks about friends and community. So, and even your place in the world, your future. So as you do the deeper work right now, Cancer, maybe the shifting how you connect with your friends, your community, and even what you think is possible for the future, because it's like something's got to open up in you, Cancer. It is Leo season. Leo season does talk about self-worth and value for you. It helps you to kind of get back to the sense of like stability, create stability in your life. But a lot of things are shifting and shaking right now. Relationships are shifting and shaking right now. Your inner self is shifting and shaking right now. But Mars is going into Virgo, and for you, Cancer, I gotta quickly do some math. Virgo is your 3rd sign, and your 3rd sign is about voice and communication. So maybe, Cancer, you have had things you have wanted to say, and Mars's arrival in your 3rd sign says that you're probably going to have a lot to say over the next 5 weeks, because Mars is not known for being tactful or diplomatic. It just sort of says what it needs to say. So if all this deep emotional material is coming up, then here comes Mars. It's really making it be known, be said. And you might say things with a little bit of a temper, just sort of putting them out there, or a little bit of point. Mars can have a little bit of an edge to it. But use this practically. Maybe if you are working with a therapist, the next 5 weeks are very productive. You're able to express, to communicate, and really get to the heart of something that you've been not just feeling, but trying to work through for the past 5, 6, 7 months, if not longer. Leo, happy birthday. Leo, what a time to be a Leo. There's just so much going on right now for my fixed signs in Leo. You are a fixed sign. So as I was said a few times before, the fixed signs are not so fixed right now. The fixed signs are just as they sound. Their job is to keep things fixed. We need life to be fixed. We need life to sort of we need that stability. If things are always changing, we don't feel safe. We don't feel stable and secure. But here's the astrology this year. It's sort of saying that the things that you thought would never change are changing. So maybe you're really feeling as you go into August that life is shifting and taking another turn. If you hear a dog barking, it's actually not mine. things are really shifting and shaking energetically. So Leo, yeah, what was I saying? Yeah, so things are shifting and shaking. The things that you thought would never change are maybe changing. One of those things is maybe career. I know a lot of Leos, a lot of Leo risings that are making career 180s. That's because you have Uranus in your sign of career. And then on the other side of things, you have Saturn in your relationship sign. So this full moon that we just came off of, sort of put in the spotlight the work that you've been doing since last year about relationships. Maybe you got into a serious relationship. Maybe you're on the edge of a serious relationship, but Saturn at the end of the day just wants equity and balance and in all your relationships, not just your romantic relationships. So you're really sort of seeing, like, how do you connect with other people? What needs to shift and change in how you communicate yourself, really express yourself. But like I said, a lot of the dynamic energy is really showing up in your career. So now that it's Leo season, Mercury is going to be in Leo. So maybe you're going to feel a lot of push to make, take action, take initiative. Now that Mercury is in Leo, Mars got out of Leo and then will be in Virgo. Virgo is your sign of money, income, material stability, and security. So if you've been having all these changes in your professional life, then maybe maybe Mars is really inspiring you to sort of create more material stability in your life, to really focus on income, maybe getting more income, maybe getting income more sorted and organized. But Mars might inspire you to spend money, maybe make investments, but you will be more driven to sort of focus on your material life and take action and initiative in your material life over the next few weeks. But Mars is also digging into self-worth and value. So that's also going to be a key theme as you go into August. Virgo, happy, it's not quite your birthday, but, Mars is sort of leading the charge. It's Leo season for you, Virgo. Leo season means that you've come to the end of your zodiac calendar, so things are typically a little bit more quiet. However, Mars in Virgo is anything but quiet. Mars says, let's go, let's start something new, let's rush forward. So, not to beat a dead horse, but you may feel like you got one foot in, one foot out, because it's still Leo season. It's still a time for rest. It's still a time to search within and reflect and ask yourself the bigger questions and sort of do the inner work before your birthday. Because when you get to the end of your personal calendar, you get to the end of a journey, and there's a need to make meaning and a need to sort and to understand what the last year meant for you as you start to get ready for the next personal year. You'll get ready for your birthday. So like I said, Mars is leading the charge. You're probably going to have a lot to say. You're going to be a bit restless. You want to do things, but at the same time, you're feeling pulled behind the scenes. I think that when the sun gets into Virgo, this is not going to be for later. Then you're going to have a lot more energy, action, and drive. That said, you have Saturn's in Aquarius, Virgo. Aquarius is your sign of health and wellness. And this full moon that we just had last week, it put that in the spotlight, and it put in the spotlight the work that you've been doing the last 7 months. Saturn, I always tell people, get ahead of Saturn. Like, if Saturn really wants you to take your health seriously, don't sleep on this, because Saturn is almost like looking over this room and saying, let's check the plumbing, let's check this, let's check the wiring, let's check the lights. And suddenly things aren't working. And so it's like, oh no, we have to have this fixed. We have to get this appointment. We have to have somebody come in and look at this. So it's a very busy time for you, Virgo, but it's also a time when your human life, your day-to-day life, and even, like I said, health and wellness has to be very on point. And then you have Uranus over in your 9th sign. So you sort of are feeling this dynamic tension right now between, like, what do you believe in? What does this all mean? Really trying to make a lot of things real, but at the same time needing to open up your eyes, Virgo, because I love you, Virgo, but you're really good at sort of putting the blinders on and sort of hyper-focusing on things, or really getting stuck in what you believe in, and to the point where you get stuck completely So Uranus is trying to help you and get you out of your way. So just, this week, and even as you go into August, Virgo, use this time to get out of your way. I know you are very highly capable, Virgo, very capable. But like I said, use this time to get out of your way. Libra. So here we are. We just had a full moon in your fifth sign. The fifth sign shows that you have been really, especially with Saturn there, working to take your talent seriously. I've sort of been skipping over Jupiter a little bit, but it's really, Jupiter is just coming back into the fray. It's joining Saturn. It's sort of adding life and adding energy to an existing story, Libra, about you taking yourself and taking your talent seriously. For some Libras, this has been about pregnancy and children. For other Libras, this has just been about creativity and self-expression. Those two things, although they seem very different, come from the same source. A need to create something, whether it's a new human or to create something that has the essence of you, it has your creativity, it has your name and your stamp on it. As you take yourself seriously, Libra, here comes Uranus over in your eighth sign, showing you where you not just get in your way, you actually actively self-sabotage. So you're really trying to do the deeper emotional work right now, Libra. But Mars is just going into your 12th sign. Virgo is the sign that's before Libra. When Mars gets to the end of your personal chart, when it gets to the 12th sign, you've sort of come to the end of a chapter of action and initiative and movement and drive. And now Mars is in a place where it wants to rest. So it's hard to really push forward over the next 5-6 weeks, just being real, Libra, because Mars has just entered a part of the chart that's about rest and recuperation and preparing for the next journey ahead. So don't push too hard, Libra. Rest if you need to rest. Reflect if you need to reflect. Do the inner searching and meaning. And Mars is the energy of action, but now the action has to be put towards your inner life, your spirituality, your, like I said, rest and recuperation and reflection. And maybe you need this time because you're doing a lot of deep and dynamic work. And if Saturn in the fifth has brought you a child, I'm sure you need a lot of rest, because when Mars goes into Libra in 5-6 weeks from now, you're going to start a new personal cycle, Libra. Scorpio. So here we are. We just had a full moon in Aquarius. For you, Scorpio, Aquarius is your fourth sign. It talks about home and family roots and foundation. So it sort of put the spotlight on this work you've been doing over the last 6, 7 months, 8 months, where you've been trying to answer a very simple question. Where's home? Who's home? It's not to say that all Scorpios have moved or will move, but that is a way to respond to this question, because it is so much about home and family right now. And of course, you're going to do this in your own way, Scorpio. I mean, I'm a Scorpio and I moved. I didn't think I was going to move. I thought I was going to move in 2023, but the universe had other plans. But as you start to focus on the importance of home, the importance of family, you have Uranus in your relationship sign. So sort of the dynamic tension that's happening this week in August is about sort of settling down, needing to replant yourself, create new home, create new space, and also connect to people differently. This might bring in very different relationships, not just romantic relationships, but all relationships, people that really shake you up and help you, hopefully, let your guard down, because Scorpio, you have a lot of guard. Mars going into Virgo, Mars is your planet, so you're going to feel this in particular. Mars goes into your 11th sign. Virgo, for you, is about friends and community. It's a sign that helps you to get motivated to connect to other people, so it's more of a social time for you, but it's also a time that really puts into focus, this energy of service and health and wellness, and how you live that in the world. So maybe you're getting more involved in groups and communities as much as one can these days, but maybe you're sort of thinking about the bigger picture in your life, or even social causes and social justice, and wanting to be a positive force in this world. But you're sort of coming to the end of this big 2-year chapter, because Mars takes 2 years to go around the zodiac. And as you come to the end of this long journey, I think the next 5-6 weeks are your way of sort of making plans for the next trip, the next 2-year chapter of your life, Scorpio, and hoping and dreaming and visioning and wishing and strategizing, because that's what you do, Scorpio. You strategize for the future. And the other thing is that, like I said, this is really so much is shifting in your life right now, Scorpio. You are fixed signs. The fixed signs are not so fixed at the moment, but for you, Scorpio, Leo season talks about career. So you're sort of having a lot of your angles activated at the moment. So, you're shifting gears, you're shifting direction, and maybe even making some changes in your professional life. Sagittarius. So the full moon just put in the spotlight the work that you've been doing on voice, communication, taking your voice seriously, taking your mind seriously. It's not to say that all Sagittariuses are hitting the books or focused on studying or education, but really it is about, what do you know right now? And to be fair, this area of the chart is about choice. So maybe you're having to make serious choices right now, Sagittarius. Weighing your options. Is it a left or a right, an up or a down, a yes or a no? But you're sort of like needing to make, really serious decisions over the next few years, because they sort of determine some of the, courses that you take, especially as Saturn goes into Pisces in 2023. I'm getting very ahead of myself. But like I said, take your voice, take what you're saying, take your mind seriously. And maybe you are really shifting your voice because that Saturn is in a square with Uranus all year long. Then Mars goes into Virgo. Virgo for you, Sagittarius, is about career. Yeah, Virgo is Sagittarius's career sign, which I always thought really interesting. But anyway, that's another side note. But you're coming to this 2-year career peak. Like every 2 years, Mars goes into Virgo, and this sort of gets you really motivated and focused on your professional life. So whatever sort of practical things you need to do in your professional life, like the next 5-6 weeks are going to be the time to do it. Mars makes things happen, so maybe things are heating up in your professional life, but since it's Virgo, like you have to do the work. You have to get focused and diligent and really take responsibility for the things that need to be taken responsible for. Anyway, English hard. But this is a time to really set your sights on higher goals and ambitions. Mars will certainly give you the fuel and the fire to go after them. You do have Uranus in your sign of health and wellness, your relationship with your body, your relationship with your day-to-day life. So that's where a lot of the key is this week for you as the planets show up in Leo. Leo is your sign of what you believe, your convictions, your truth, whatever your philosophies are. Like you have a lot of opinions, Sagittarius. So I think this is a week where maybe you have to sort of do things a little bit differently, sort of shake up your day-to-day life, take care of your body differently, projects differently. Because Uranus, I'm pretty sure, Sagittarius, if you go back and you look the last few years, it's something about your day-to-day life looks very differently. So you can sort of use this tension to make positive changes in old mindsets or old viewpoints that are negatively impacting your relationship with your day-to-day life or your body. But that's where you're going to see the tension show up this week. Jupiter is your planet, and Jupiter is going to go back to Aquarius. It was in Pisces, for 4 months or 5 months. So you were focused on home and family, but then it's time to return back to, let's say, all the education work you were doing, the writing, the communication, and the work in general that you've been doing to take your mind and to take your voice seriously. Capricorn. So this full moon is the full moon that we just had put the spotlight on money, income, material stability. So that's sort of what's still reverberating around as you come into this week. But like I said, we got planets changing signs. Jupiter goes back into Aquarius. So Aquarius is your money sign. It's either getting you really focused on what you don't have, or it's helping you to open up new possibilities and getting what you do need. Jupiter in this part of the chart can sometimes bring a windfall, not to get people too excited, but sometimes we get that raise that we didn't expect. Sometimes suddenly there's just more resources available to us when Jupiter is in the money sign. But I think we have to take into account that Saturn is there too. So Saturn just says whatever it is, like it has to balance the books. You have to know exactly what everything is worth. It's not just money for money's sake. It's really understanding the value behind everything right now. So this is why it might be a little bit of not how you would normally interpret Jupiter, because Saturn is there too. But yeah, you've been making a lot of changes in your relationship with money, income, material stability, Capricorn, and Saturn is your sign. And then a lot of those changes are coming from this tension in the chart where you have to really shift and awaken to who you truly are. So don't do things, Capricorn, because it's the script, even though you're really good at following the script, Capricorn. Do things because you really want to do them, that you're really honoring your individuality, your talents, your self-expression. Mars is going to go into Virgo. Virgo is an earth sign, and Virgo for you, Capricorn really helps you to reach out into the world. Maybe it's about travel. I know it's a little bit weird to travel right now, but maybe you're really getting that urge to explore the world. If it's not physically explored, then it's more metaphorical exploration. It's also education, themes around truth and meaning and convictions, and really standing up for what you believe in. But Mars is really helping you look at truth and sort of really speak about your philosophy at this time. But I think with Leo season for you, it's really bringing up a lot of deeper emotions and deeper feelings that are sort of underneath a lot of this dynamic energy that's showing up for you this year. In short, Capricorn, a lot is shifting for you right now. Just go with it. It'll be okay. Aquarius. So we just had a full moon in your sign, and we're going to have another full moon in Aquarius, by the way, in August. You have two. It doesn't only happen that way. So you're going to have two opportunities to be in the spotlight. So that's the thing about full moons in your sign, puts you in the spotlight. It's also a time of taking action and initiative on some new chapter. Sort of the push and the pull this week is happening between you, and it's also happening between home and family, and sort of the deeper things around home and family. Where you're rooted and grounded and planted. Jupiter's return back to Aquarius is sort of making your life a little bit bigger at the moment. Sometimes Jupiter in your sign can make you physically bigger. Just little heads up, because Jupiter will be in Aquarius until December 28th. But Jupiter really gives us the faith and the confidence to start something new. So maybe you've just seen a really new chapter emerge in the last 6 to 8 months. And Jupiter's like, hey, let's do it. Let's keep going. Let's make it bigger. And then you have Mars is going into Virgo. Virgo for you is, sorry, gotta do the quick math. But yeah, Mars is gonna go into Virgo. Virgo is your A sign, is that right? It's going into your A sign, so it's really going into the part of the chart that talks about your deeper emotions and your deeper feelings, and maybe a lot of emotional stuff is going to come up over the next 5-6 weeks. But do the inner work. Virgo is your 8th room. It's making you feel your feels. Yeah, Aquarius, you're in the same boat as a lot of other people. Like, a lot of things have to shift and change right now. Aquarius. Finally, Pisces. So Pisces, there's just been, Leo season for you is about doing that inner work. It's about doing the physical work, organizing your life, getting back to basics, getting, focused on your day and organized. I think there's a sense with Pisces, it's like, how do you take your grand vision, Pisces, and make it real? So yeah, it's a back to basics time for you. And I think with the full moon in Aquarius, it highlighted the inner spiritual work you've been doing over the last 5, 6, 7, 8 months. Right now, Saturn is in your last sign. It will be in your last sign until 2023. So you want to be very diligent right now, Pisces, about what you're still holding on to. You want to let it go, because if it's with you by 2023, it's with you for the next grand cycle of your life. But so there's this tension that's happening between this emotional, deeper, unconscious and spiritual side of you, but also your voice and communication. So open up your intuition. Listen to yourself, Pisces. I know you're a very intuitive sign to begin with, but maybe this is a time when you're really having to be even more intuitive. And then Virgo for you is your relationship sign. So Mars tends to heat things up. So if there's some sort of relationship issue that's simmering in the back burner, it's going to come up. Mars just pushes buttons. It can be a little bit argumentative. I'm so sorry. But also it can motivate you to really make connection, make partnership. It just isn't very diplomatic when it's in this part of the chart. But relationships will definitely be very highlighted over the next 5-6 weeks. Jupiter's return back to Aquarius, that goes again into that existential space that you've been really digging into for the past half a year. So very spiritual time, or I would just say Pisces, because Jupiter is leaving Pisces, you just had like this taste of a new beginning. Jupiter is your planet. Jupiter will get back to Pisces on December 28th. So it's sort of like you're sort of in between two different halves and chapters of your life right now, Pisces. But that is your look at the astrology of July 26th through August 1st, 2021, with some special bonus puppy noises. I think he finally passed out in his crate after he decided to chew on everything. But sorry we had a little bit of a late start today, but thank you all for joining me. Again, my name is Katie Sweetman. I am an astrologer and psychic medium here in New York City, although really technically Jersey City. But yeah, thank you all for joining me. You can follow me online at empoweringastrology.com. I have content 5 days a week. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can listen to this on Spotify, and subscribe to my newsletter. Yeah, I actually have a newsletter. You can learn about the astrology for the week before we have this live chat, and then I'm also on Instagram, Empowering Astro. So thank you all for joining me. I know that I see some familiar faces. Some of you are my clients. Yes, you can book a consultation with me, but I'm sure we will have lots to talk about as we go in next week. Thank you all for your support. Thank you all for your patience with my puppy, and until next time, bye.